Ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, all right, bet. Here we go.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
One, two, three, four.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Of course, whatever applies to you is dependent on where you are across the world and all the variety of different time zones that definitely tap in from time to time. Coming through because I want to talk a little bit more about the Las Vegas UFO, right? And the news that there's been a lot of news going on today, being the fact, okay, that um, I think it's pronounced Angel, or, people are saying angel, right? Hasn't really talked to many people, right? Um, he's not really did a whole lot of interviews and things like that to talk about the experience that happened. And I'm referring to the incident that occurred back in Las Vegas last year. Hey, what's up with it? Indiana's in the building. Shout out to Indiana. So yeah, I mean, everyone heard about this. Channel 8 in Las Vegas really, George Knapp originally broke this story. News Nation has been keeping up with this story, and we've been plugged into News Nation quite heavily because News Nation seems to be making quite an investment in to this, just the topic overall, right? Ross Cohart over there at News Nation has been keeping up with this topic in great detail as well, and I think many of us appreciate it. Okay, now if you just to kind of get people back up to speed, right, and who is this individual? Remember the viral video clip, right? That Angel dropped, and he's got a channel on YouTube, Angel Las Vegas. But on May the 1st, 2023, breaking news hit all over the internet, right? And it has a little bit, I think, to do with the momentum or behind this topic. But remember the sighting in Las Vegas. There was a teenager who who was age 17, who spoke out about a very mysterious encounter that occurred on April the 30th, late that night last year, back in 2023. Now, Angel says he has been traumatized and paranoid ever since that incident. And I want to say yesterday or last night, there's a YouTube channel named Crime Scene, managed by a man named Scott Roeder, who dropped this is a very detailed analysis of that video that was taken when this incident occurred. And remember, he called in and he said, hey, he called 911. He's like, there is an 8-foot tall being in my backyard, and it's 100% not human. Okay. 100% not human. Now, he says that he has had some continuing events happening in his life ever since that, what he refers to as a very traumatizing event, right? Very traumatizing event. Listen, I want to plug in just really quick. I want to show you the news clip really quick, all right? This has been on Ashley Banfield's show. And I heard she may be talking about it again tonight. Not sure. I think she comes on in about an hour or so, I believe. But I could be wrong about the time. But you all check it for a sec here.
Not only did what happened in Vegas not stay in Vegas, it circled the known universe. The frenzy grew when reports surfaced that unknown authorities had afterwards placed cameras around this family's home. The family was driven into hiding, off the grid, out of sight, underground. But 10 months later, the mystery lives on, and looky-loos and alien hunters are still on the prowl. The family posted no trespassing signs, but break-ins have been reported frequently here, as recently as last week at this home. Tonight, a News Nation exclusive, the teenager who made that 911 call is finally speaking publicly at length and laying out exactly what he saw that night and what has happened since. Our national correspondent, Alex Capriello, joins me with that live from Las Vegas tonight. So, Alex, it's really compelling with the advent of a year passing almost, that they've had a chance to digest what it is they've been through. They have kept quiet. They are not looking for attention. And yet now you're getting information, especially from this 15-year-old or the 17-year-old, that's pretty alarming.
Yeah, and I've found out from speaking to Angel Kenmore that life just really has not been all that easy for the past year since they saw that 10-foot tall creature in their backyard right here behind me. For him, he says that he's plain and simple traumatized by it all. He says he can't sleep at night. He's become slightly paranoid. He cries at night, trying to make sense, heads or tails, of what exactly he saw that night, playing it back over and over in his head. You can imagine the torment that's going through in his head. But to this day, none of the family has a very good explanation about what exactly they saw that night. But to their credit, they've stayed pretty consistent about the facts and the details. I really grilled him about that, trying to get him to remember as much as he possibly could about that night. Here's a portion of our conversation. What do you remember about that night? What do you remember seeing?
Oh, start again, I guess. We were in the backyard fixing a truck, and then out of nowhere we just see a big light fall down and basically crash in the backyard. And moments after, like not so, like a couple seconds after, I saw the big giant creature in front of me. The alien, whatever you guys want to call it, the alien demon, whatever you guys want to call it.
What do you believe it is?
A demon.
A demon?
Yeah.
So maybe that's changed, that once you thought it was an alien, now you believe it was a demon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, only God knows what it was. But I'm thinking it's like something bad, not a good thing.
Was it moving? Was it doing?
Yes, it was moving. You could see like he was breathing, like he was like pissed off, like he wanted to do something.
And he was looking at you and your brother?
He was looking at me, yeah.
Did he say anything?
Mm-mm. I remember he was growling like a dog, like he was growling.
When did it end?
As soon as I closed my eyes, I guess. I don't know. I think I was praying or something like that, and they just let me go. That's when I went inside, and I saw my dad. I saw it too.
It felt like it had a control of your body?
Oh yeah, I couldn't move. I couldn't move. Yeah.
You were paralyzed at the sight of this thing,
Yeah, I couldn't move.
and you were looking at it for 30 or so seconds, and then all of a sudden it was gone.
Yeah. That was pretty creepy.
A lot of people think that that's just hard to believe.
They, like I said again, they can think whatever they want.
What do you say to the people who believe that your family just made this whole thing up to try to get attention?
They can believe whatever they want. I'm not doing it for free. If I did it for fame, I would be on YouTube and stuff like that, doing more videos. But I don't care, guys. I just went on TikTok and YouTube, made my story. That's pretty much it. I made no money off this. I want people to know that I made no money off this. I don't need money. That's pretty much it. They can believe whatever they want.
I bet you hope it doesn't happen to anybody.
Oh, no, hopefully not. No. I hope God, no. Really bad experience. Really traumatizing.
And Ashley, I don't know what your impression of him was, but when I was speaking to him personally, I was really struck by how confident and authentic he was about his memories of that night. There's a lot of people obviously out there in the world that would make up ghost stories in order to chase any sort of clout or fame. But to me, Angel came across as somebody who truly believed that he saw something that night in that backyard right here behind me.
Yeah, Alex, he didn't really seem to have canned answers either. So if this was all a big ruse, he's either a really, really good actor, I mean, Meryl Streep quality, and, he certainly didn't script it, didn't seem to plan out answers, at the grasp. I do want to ask you about the family. This is the 17-year-old finally talking at length about his experience. And boy, did he ever add some details there that what he saw seemed to be angry and breathing heavily with growling, looking right at his brother and him, and that he felt frozen, which is an account we've heard from other people who have felt that they've seen something out of this world before, that they've been frozen and unable to move. What about the family? Does the family back him?
Yeah, the family does, although they're much less willing to go public about it. I spoke to his mom, who basically said that she has no interest in speaking about it because she just feels differently than Angel. She feels like nobody in the world is going to believe her. Angel, on the other hand, while certainly not trying to publish his case widespread, he feels the need to share it because he wants the world to know what he saw, and also he wants the world to know that his family is doing okay and moving forward. In general, the family wants the spotlight off of them. Take, for example, all these no trespassing signs. There's at least 4 of them. But at this time, they are just basically saying, look, we don't really want to talk about it anymore, but we still stand behind the things that we saw that night.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News
Hold on a
Nation on your
second.
television.
Let me just say this. I am really grateful that Angel has spoken out on this. I know it can't be easy to be thrusted into the spotlight like that. So the fact that he's not done a lot of interviews, right? That says a lot to me too. And I really wish reporters would stop challenging what he's saying. Okay, just embrace it. All right, instead of saying, you know how hard it is going to be for people to believe you, right? We don't care about those people anymore. Ask any of us, do we care about the skeptics? No one cares about the skeptics. All right, let them be skeptics. All right, let them be skeptics. I don't care. I don't really care what the skeptics think anymore. There's no way that we're all making this up, right? Something else to consider, and I said this in my last stream, the fact that we've got craft crashing in people's backyards. But what about the commercial airline perspective of this? Something that isn't talked about as much, but should be. The fact that more and more commercial air pilots are running or having experiences in the cockpit where during their flights, okay, they see UFOs. Or what about the military aircraft that have been running into UFOs during their flight missions? which, by the way, these UFOs, you have no communication with them. You don't know what sort of maneuvers or what their flight is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I think there's a little danger here in the fact that you've got UFOs flying in front of commercial aircraft that's carrying human beings on it. Is that not something that we should be concerned with? Let me show you an example, right? Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. You got a military aircraft, all right, flying in the air on a mission. And then a UFO craft just comes out of nowhere. Isn't this dangerous? There's no reporting mechanism in place today. Can you believe that? In 2024, there's no reporting mechanism in place for this. Just look at this. You imagine being the pilot behind the controls here. You run into that right in front of you. This is very dangerous. These craft have the ability to maneuver in ways that we don't even understand.
La gran labor policial que se desarrolla en esta... ¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué avión?
No, ningún avión se puede detener así, pues.
Nada se puede detener así.
Oye, mira, no se puede detener.
Un ovni. Renzo. No puede ser, es estático. Si tú quisieras vender eso, tendrías que grabar a la gente que está acá. A ver. O sea, claro, para que tengan la referencia de suspendido, ¿ah? No, que no puede ser una cosa que una flota ahí. No, pita no tiene, ¿ah? No es pita. Está bien arriba. Está suspendido. No hable que estoy grabando.
Let me tell you what it feels like to me. I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but does anyone else ever feel like these craft are trying to police our skies? It's very weird, right? And it's not even just aircraft or commercial craft or military craft. What about UFOs that are hanging around nuclear missile silos, nuclear silos where weapons are stored, turning them off? Although turning them off is kind of interesting, right? But the fact that there's been so many sightings, very vivid sightings by very reputable people who don't dream that day when they go to work, they're going to have an experience like that, right? But just because their job is to protect weapons of mass destruction, there seems to be a special interest in these weapons to these beings that have put craft over these buildings that store these weapons. And not all of these craft are manned with a crew, folks. It's been reported several times that craft have showed up almost like some sort of a drone on steroids. This smart intelligence of whatever type that it is literally performing entire missions without a manned crew. War zones are hot places, or no, hot zones for UFO craft to just show up. See, spheres within rectangular or square, clear, translucent boxes. Some of the strangest descriptions of craft that somehow maneuver in ways that transgress what's known to scientists these days when it comes to physics. But one thing I really do feel like needs to be talked about more is the danger to commercial airlines. And, even here's another example: rockets flying up. There was one, I forget the name of it, but it was another one of SpaceX's tests. And there's been evidence of not only rockets, but rockets holding payload that, weaponry type payload, explosive type payload. Just rockets in general being shot down, right? UFO craft just showing up, shooting rockets down. Tell me none of you have seen those videos? And I've heard of that happening quite a few times. You didn't give us permission to launch this rocket. We're taking it down. It's an energy pulse of some kind. But let me tell you about another very interesting video that I seen recently. And of course, I don't know if our government would ever cop to this, but those of you that ever find yourselves on, carriers or ships, military ships, there's evidence that there's been craft investigating military ships at sea. Oh, yeah. UFO attacks on ships, on military bases. All right. All that. Energy weapons. This influx of all of a sudden people capturing pulses of energy coming down to Earth. Just shooting at something almost like a lightning strike. But it don't look anything like a lightning strike. Just take a look at this. You know what it looks like to me? And it's bringing back memories of some of the stories I've heard of fights that happened, and specifically in Vietnam. There was a story that I heard once by someone who was in a boat with several other soldiers. There were several boats, and these UFOs appeared. And these soldiers began to shoot at these UFOs. And somehow the bullets that they were spraying at the UFOs came right back on them and killed them. And to me, I sort of, when I see this, I see the ship start shooting and then fire starts coming back. And I sort of wonder it. And interestingly enough, you'll notice when more fire starts being sent to this ship, it's almost like it closes down a little bit, almost like a flower. But imagine events like that happening that the people know nothing about, that these events have been classified, right? There's probably so many of them that have occurred that we know nothing about. It's not even been disseminated to the public. So, you all, there's one more clip. I want to go circle back to Angel in Las Vegas. Angel described to News Nation how events since the incident that occurred in Vegas last year, that he's had some very creepy paranormal type experiences since the events. And the stories I've heard, right? People in suits, men in black type characters, that sort of a thing. But I'm talking more of something that Angel described as these very strange experiences happening since, who knows, are cloaked aliens, coming in his house, that sort of, that's kind of the thing that makes I wonder about, right? Can't tell me if these things are intelligent and flying ships and you accidentally crash in a man's backyard, you can't tell me that, his name isn't etched in their consciousness, right?
Inside the home. And they're very afraid of.
1 second, please.
So what's interesting also, Alex, in the year, almost the year that has passed, is that something else has begun to happen, they say, now inside the home. And they're very afraid of what they have been, what they say that they have been witnessing inside their home. Can you describe what it is they're telling you?
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why Angel has pivoted from calling what he saw that night an alien instead, now calling it a demon, because he feels like he's seeing so much paranormal activity and just strange, unexplainable things happening inside of his home. There was 2 anecdotes, one in particular that we're about to show you that literally made the hairs on my arm stand up just because it is so freaky, so unexplainable. We have a segment of that part of the conversation.
You mentioned paranormal activity. What exactly did you see?
Well, I was in another room. My brother called me, and there was a upside down cross, and there was a Jesus statue in it. They ripped Jesus out of it. They threw him like across the room, and it was floating upside down.
Are you saying floating in the air?
Yeah, like in the air. It was floating upside down.
What did you do? I mean, did you go pick it up? Did you knock it down? Like how?
No, I didn't do nothing. I was just sitting there. I was crazy. I was like, what?
But how did it come down? It's not still floating right now, is it?
No, it came down. So we got closer to it and then dropped.
It fell to the ground. A crucifix
Yeah.
floating in the air, upside down. The Jesus on the crucifix had been ripped off.
Yeah.
And it was floating.
Yep.
And you can say definitively, without lies, that that is what you saw.
Yes. Swear to God, that's what I saw.
What do you believe that is? How could something like that happen? That's not physically possible in this world.
And that's just one story of many stories of paranormal activity that's happened inside this house, according to Angel. He said that the family has had to take some really drastic measures to make themselves feel safe within their home. We're going to talk more about all of that paranormal activity tomorrow night on Banfield.
And one last question about just what their house, has become, because, typically people are rabid about stuff like this, and people will come from all corners of not just the country but the earth to visit places like this. Have they been inundated with tourists and looky-loos and people who are not maybe as kind as they should be when they arrive on the property?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, as you mentioned, this story sparked global attention. So everybody started coming to this house to get a peek at the backyard, hoping to catch a sight of a UFO or an alien or a demon, whatever it was back there. And so that's the reason why you see so many no trespassing signs. If you just look in the distance, you see one on the window, there's one on the garage, on their front door, there's a no trespassing sign, also a concealed carry sign that says that, we will protect our property. So in the end, this has caught a lot of attention, and so much so that they're seeing around 4 or 5 cars almost each and every day, people stopping by, people even jumping over the fence, breaking into their home, trying to do whatever they can to catch a glimpse.
So distressing. Alex Capriello, thank
you all. Could you imagine? Could you imagine being thrust into the spotlight like that? And that's the type of fame. If there's any type of fame that one wants, it should be that type of fame, right? I'm just saying, the cloud chase problem out here it's ever eternal, folks. It's ever eternal. But I hope to see Angel in more interviews. I do. It would be lovely to see him do more. I'd love to see him on Coast to Coast. I would love to see Ross Coulthart talk to him. I'd love to see George Knapp do another conversation with him as well. That would probably be the, creme de la creme right there. Okay. But there's a lot of things I could say. I also want to know more about what paranormal events, other than what he just described, has been happening. And you all, just, to you news reporters, we don't need to challenge the veracity of his claims. I don't feel we need to do that. I don't feel like every time a broadcast is made, but for some reason, the skeptics' voices are so strong. Fuck the skeptics. Okay. Everybody's not crazy. Everybody's not crazy. All the way down from Bob Lazar to... look how Bob Lazar's story has stood the test of time. Has stood the test of time. Hasn't it? He's saying the same thing now that he was saying back then. Did any of you see the clip of Bob talking about how he's seen some top secret documents about how we humans are containers? That's how these beings, some of them, can't say all of them, that's how they look at us. Like we are containers of souls.
I was hired in December of 1988 to...
One second, you all. I want to...
Bob Lazar on humans and religion.
Yeah. Here it is.
And that they had something to do with different prophets
Remember this?
and biblical figures.
Yes.
What?
Well, supposedly Jesus and two other beings were genetically engineered. They were implanted in people on Earth in biblical times, and their births were closely monitored. Now, just some little connections to that my wife had brought up were in the Bible. They said that this star had followed Mary wherever she went, and that all UFO sightings always start out as people. There was an extremely classified document dealing with religion. That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of.
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers, and that's how we're mentioned in the document. That religion was specifically created, so we had some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
The soul.
Well, the souls or the bodies, whatever.
That's meaning like we're containers for souls that they're going to use at some other point.
Right.
And that they had something to do with different prophets and biblical figures.
Yeah.
And imagine that. Authorities feel like there would be a worldwide fervor of religious panic. But yet you've got people out here pushing many videos about the Anunnaki creating us. Okay. There's a lot of stories, old stories that go that way, right? That's sort of the narrative of the story. It's up to you on what you believe, right? But there are some very elaborate videos out here, folks, AI generated videos that I just find demonic, to be honest. Misinformation. If we were to listen, say, there was one, Mr. Townsend talked about how he had heard that 95% of the books on Earth were misinformation. What do you think they're doing on the internet, folks? Nobody's reading books no more, right? So is there a demonic element to this? Very possible, folks. Very, very, very possible. If you talk about this topic with a theologian or someone of a specific certain type of faith, that's the type of response that you may get. But if it is the case, don't we have a right to know? Or do you feel like the government makes all the right decisions for you? Do you depend on your government? I think a lot of people that get read into these programs, there's a certain egotistical attitude that they're the only ones that have this information and it makes them special or something. But is it fair if there is a danger that potentially poses, or anything that potentially poses a danger to human beings, is it fair that we don't know about that? How can we protect ourselves if we don't know? Anyway, before I get up out of here, folks, allow me to pay a few bills if you don't mind. Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
And when you all get a chance, check out my official podcast, right? You can go to the root page at anchor.fm/LeakYou. And depending on what platform you use, I have a podcast feed for it. So check it out when you get a chance. I'm going to go ahead and close this down, folks. I do appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. Until next time.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart. Like